And today's movie opens by giving us a prologue of what happened 3 years ago. The robots have invaded Earth, and the war only lasted 11 days before the robots completely took over. It's already been 1,264 days since the planet had been colonized. The robots promised their citizens that once their study of human race was complete, they would evacuate the planet. The robots only had one rule, and that was for the humans to always remain in their homes. The first scene begins with a man erratic and tired of the robot's house imprisonment, running outside his home while his son begs him to come back. The man, like everyone, had an implant on his neck that alerted the robots when he left his house. And out of nowhere, one of the invader ships appear and orders him to return. The man refuses and yells that they killed his wife, and when the robots see that the man was not complying, they kill him with a ray gun. The man's son, Connor, runs towards the place his father died and kneels by it. He starts hearing the warning of the robots and his neighbors to head back home, but he refuses to listen. Just before the robot ship was about to fire, Robin tells it to stand down by reciting a special code. Connor stays the night with his neighbor Kate, who asks Robin if she could take him in indefinitely. Robin tells her that they had good homes for orphans and children and that they wouldn't want to burden the families. Nate, one of Kate's sons, asks Robin to put him with the collaborators, which Robin finds offensive as he's part of the volunteer corps. Sean asks Robin about his father's whereabouts, which Robin explains that he doesn't know. This conversation has Katie teary-eyed, which touches Robin's heart and compels him to allow Connor to stay with her. The next day, Connor hurries back to his house to retrieve his belongings. On his way back, he drops his toys and only had 15 seconds to pick them up and hurry to Kate, who was watching him worriedly from her doorway. But fortunately, Connor picks up all his toys and makes it to Kate's house before the robots standing guard could shoot him. That night, the family gathers to watch another broadcast by the robots, assuring them that they will make their departure as soon as their study on the human race is over. Alex makes her opinion known by cursing in front of the family, which really upsets Kate. In the morning, Sean brings Kate tea as she waters her bed plants and weeps inside the room, remembering her husband who disappeared. Every day, Sean writes letters with a drawing of his father, asking people if they'd seen him and stuffed them inside tennis balls so he could throw them to their homes. Sean also does his exercises vigorously every day, training himself to fight. Next, Alex, Sean, and Connor were hanging out and using a battery to charge their electronic devices. Suddenly, Nate touches the battery, which electrocutes him and sends him flying across the room. Angry at what just happened, Nate starts cursing, but Alex realizes that the chip planted on Nate's neck had been broken. The children realize what they just accomplished and celebrate, and one by one, they fry their chips so they'd be able to go outside. That night, the four of them sneak out of the house and go to the local railway museum, stealing as much candy as they could find. After filling themselves up with as much candy as they could, Nate starts talking jokingly about forming a resistance, which everyone dismisses. And Connor finds a reply to the letters Sean had been writing and throws it out. It explained that the person knew his father and that he was captured. The letter also explained that all the information was kept at the school. Sean, curious about his father's fate, decides to go back to school. All four of them go to the school, but seeing that it's being guarded by robots, Sean tells the three of them to go home, as this is his mission to find out what happened to his father. But they all refuse to leave and follow him inside the school. After finding a safe space for Connor to hide, Nate, Sean, and Alex go inside the school in search of their parents' files. They search many cabinets and find files on which some of them were marked red, and they realize that that meant the people in the picture were dead. After thorough searching, Sean finds his father's file and realizes that he's still alive. He remembers that Robin had told him that his father was dead all the time, and while they kept on the search, Alex realizes that Nate's chip had started to flash once again. Slowly, all of their chips started to alert the robots, then all three of them run toward where they kept Connor, who'd left in search of the others, while he also realized that his light was blinking. Connor had managed to electrocute himself and escape before he got caught. Although their fierce attempts to escape, Nate, Sean, and Alex get caught by the robots that can now easily track them because of their chips. As the three surrender, they are approached by Robin, and he confesses to keeping Sean's father's well-being a secret due to the deep love he had for Kate. Robin decides to change the children's chips to one that would force them to starve. As he gets ready to perform the task, he whispers miraculously that he would take care of his mother. Before the machine could take its full effect, Connor barges in with fireworks and saves Sean's life. On their way out, Nate opens the gas lines to the school and blows it up. The 4 kids then escape and hurry toward the nearest mall so they can all fry their chips once again. An altercation arises between Sean and Nate because Sean thinks the only person who can help him with the new chip is his father. Finally, with Alex's convincing, Nate agrees to go along with the plan. The 4 of them make their journey toward a hotel that Sean had seen in the file where they were keeping his father. Once they make it there and find a way inside, they are all surprised to find a room full of people drinking and watching a fistfight. All of a sudden, the room goes quiet and all attention is placed on them. Out of nowhere, the people hurry toward them and try to attack them, but before they could do any damage, Wayne fires a gun in the air and calms everybody down. He realizes that the 4 children had found a way to turn off their chips and decides to take them to their leader, Monique. She asks them how they managed this, and they show her and everybody there a demonstration. Once it's proved to be true, the crowd erupts in applause, realizing that this could mean that they could finally go out. Sean shows Monique a picture of his father and asks her if she's seen him. Monique takes him to meet Swanee, who had his implant removed by a watchmaker, and tells the children to go to a stone circle. Outside, Robin had temporarily lifted the curfew and was announcing if anybody had seen Sean by passing around his pictures. Sean's mother, who was worried about her son, was taken to the castle with Robin. Hearing this, Sean is very angry that Robin was so fast to take advantage of his mom and decides to go save her so he and his mother can go find his father. And Nate, Alex, and Connor all decide to go on the mission with Sean. In the castle, Robin makes his case toward Kate, explaining that he'd landed on the Cradle Mountain and that he wants her to come live there with him. He tries to make advances toward her, but Kate slaps him on the face. And Robin tells Kate that she would be going with him one way or another. Sean and his group had finally made it to the castle and were trying to maneuver their way through the guarding robots. As they try to run, their chips are activated and they start being chased by one of the giant robot guards. It catches up to them, but before it could blast them into oblivion, Sean's new neck chip interferes with the robot's programming and puts it under his control. Sean realizes he can turn this to his advantage, and he pretends as if he'd been captured by the robot and is letting it lead him toward Robin. Once Robin's overconfident self appears from the castle, telling him that he should have kept running, Sean points the giant gun's robot at him and has all of his men and the robots stand down. Sean tells Robin to bring his mother out, but before he could, Kate comes out riding a horse after she'd orchestrated her escape. Panicking, Sean loses control of the robot and fries its brain. Other robots start firing at Sean and the others, but it seems Sean had developed the ability to control the robots nearby and could stop them at will. Nate notices the scared Robin trying to flee and follows him onto the roof. On the top, Nate holds him at gunpoint, but before he does anything, Robin loses his balance and falls over, landing on garbage bags. Robin gets away before Nate could catch up to him again, and Sean and the group follow his mother and finally catch up to her. Kate is ecstatic to see Sean and all her other adopted children, Nate, Alex, and Connor, alive and well. Once happily reunited, the group starts to drive their way to the stone circle. Robin, who'd escaped the kids' wrath, heads toward the leader of the robots and explains what happened. The robot tells Robin that it means to capture Sean alive so they can study him and find out how he's able to interfere with their network. It tells Robin that the entire area was now scheduled for a deep scan, a procedure that would make people unable to eat and eventually cause their deaths. Sean and his group finally make it to the stone circle and try to figure out where to go next. The large stones planted on the ground were covered in graffiti that would give them the whereabouts of the resistance, and they head toward a river where they think they might be located. After walking around for a while, they notice a little boy in the woods and chase after him, but they lose him on the run and find a hidden place on the beach. While they're looking at the plain, they're caught by men hiding crossbows and realize that they finally made it to the resistance. Sean asks the people if they had seen a man called Danny, who was his father. From the crowd, Donnie walks out and embraces his family, happy to see them alive and well. He tells his family that he'd always knew that they were out there and that he never believed what Robin used to say. Danny takes his family to where the resistance had built a little village, and he takes them to one of the huts to get all their chips removed so they can never be tracked again by the robots. That night, the group gathers around a campfire to discuss the diabolical plan of the robots and how they plan to scan and kill every human being in the world. In the morning, the community is woken up by a loud noise that reverberates throughout their tiny village. When they look outside, they see Robin and his robot henchmen announcing that they will all be killed unless they hand over Sean. The terrified resistance hurries inside to give up Sean, but finds him missing from his bed. Sean had woken up early that day to go out into the field, and he waves his hand around until he gets the attention of a drone and uses his newfound powers to control it. After controlling one of the huge drones, Sean flies back to the camp. He's approached by a robot mediator who tells him that his ability to control the robots was sublime, and they wanted to test how he was able to do it. The robot explains that Sean would be given immunity for himself and his family if he agrees to do this, but he would be forcibly taken in if he didn't. Sean tries to make a connection with the mediator's brain, which controlled all the robots in the world, but fails, causing his control on the drone to falter and causing it tilt. The mediator falls from the drone and breaks into pieces, and with this development, all the robots start shooting at Sean in retaliation. And with the help of Danny and Nate and their plane, Sean was able to fight back and destroy the large machine sent to destroy the community. With the cube-like machine gone, Robin has lost all authority with the robots and is treated like any other citizen. The robots warn him to go back inside his house in 15 seconds, and when he was unable to do so, they kill him. Sean and his family find the broken pieces of the mediator and try to enter its mind, as he's done this before. And finally, he manages to secure a hold of the connection and destroys all the robots in the world. Exhausted by his attempt, Sean passes out. Alex kisses him and wakes him from his sudden collapse, and the group stand together, watching all the robots explode and fall from the sky as their systems are fried. Later, the whole city gathers together to celebrate their victory. Sean watches what he had accomplished with pride as he's finally freed the human race from robot subjugation.